Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are joined by the owner of PrismsScape Gems and Healing Center. If you haven't heard from her yet, you're going to love today's show. We're talking to Gina Crosheck about the new year, the dark of the moon, the new moon, setting intentions, and of course, all that the new year can bring upon us and her shop and her husband. And there's so many wonderful people. I just want to thank you for being here. We've been speaking for months now, so I feel like I really know her on a personal level, even
Yes.
though I'm not in Iowa, but thank you. And you
But you
guys
might come
offer,
someday.
I will. And she's of divine service and she's doing things like Reiki and past life regression. And her shop has custom gifts and jewelry and all these things that can help you solve some of your personal challenges in life. Let me start there and say Happy New Year to you and your family. How was it, by the way?
Happy New Year to you as well. It was quiet. Normally we go to our brother and sister-in-laws, but one of them wasn't feeling very well that evening. So George and I just had a very leisurely, very quiet New Year's Eve watching different kinds of concerts. And we had the whole variety. So we had a PBS concert with um, Cynthia, the woman who played the Wicked Witch in Wicked.
Oh, wow.
And she
Nice.
was just astoundingly wonderful. And we watched the Dick Clark ball drop
Mm-hmm.
and the Nashville Bash. And
Yep.
so we kept mixing everything and having a variety of different things and staying up until 12:30, which for us is late.
Well, I watched the country bash myself. Went to two local friends' houses with my kids, and one of my sons, the younger one, fell asleep. I woke him up at midnight. Then we walked across the street home and went right to bed by 12:20. But
That's very good.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
there's new intentions with the new year. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, Prismscapes and how that correlates with our conversation about the new year today.
So PrismsScape is this phenomenal place that we've built over the years. So we've been in business for 10 years. And originally, before we had the Gyms and Healing Center, it was just my own
Mm-hmm.
practice. But in 2015, we decided to expand the crystal shop and to expand and create a healing center so we could have a wide range of different modalities represented in working with people to help them learn more about themselves, to heal themselves, to transform themselves. And then the crystals had started talking to me in 2008 and got very noisy in 2010. And so it was just, they finally said, look, you are the person who is supposed to bring our messages to the rest of the world. And we have been waiting for you for a very long time. And so I'm like, okay. So,
Mm-hmm.
and George, God love him, he said, sure, I'll join you in the business. And so our our business is really probably one of the most unique places you'll find. A lot of different places have crystals, a lot of different places have healing centers, but the energy of this place is a safe haven. It is a place of peace. It is a place of extraordinarily good energy and love. It is absolutely filled with love. In fact, one of the things before COVID, I always told people who worked with us, I said, are you comfortable hugging other people? Because that was one of the things that we always wanted to give people a hug. Because one of the things that happens in this world is that human touch, we we could oftentimes we miss it, and a lot of times we seldom get it. That's one of the things oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
people who've lost a loved one of the things they miss the most is the human touch, is they miss. And so that was just part of what we do is we love people and accept everyone. And so that is what PrismsScape Gyms and Healing Center is about.
Beautiful. I'm a hugger myself. And ironically, I went down to Texas a few years ago for work and I met someone's family and I went to hug the mom and dad. It was a Christmas time and they were like taken back. And I was like, I felt so uncomfortably awkward. I'm like, okay, maybe different traditions, different parts of the world, but I hugged them and then it was awkward. And then I was going to see them when I said goodbye. And you know what? I hugged them again. So I had to make it like, this is what I do to show that I'm not weird. It was the only time in my life that ever felt awkward hugging someone. I guess they're not used to that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I said, if I don't do it on the way out, then they're going to think something. This is me, a
Yeah.
hugger. I have to continue and let them know that's just my way of expressing my gratitude for meeting them and spending the time
Yeah.
with their family.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Human touch. Very important. I agree. Now, for today's show, I know, we're excited to talk about the new year, what this all means, and when is this new moon happening, or did it happen
So
already?
it happened on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve. And
Okay.
so one of the reasons why I thought we could still talk about it is because the energy of the new moon and the full moon are continues 3 days in advance and 3 days after.
Yeah.
And since we're a couple of days after, we still have the energy. And I had read just an excellent post by a woman named Vera Lopez
Oh,
about the final new moon of 2024. And she called it a black moon
okay.
uh, because it was the second new moon in a month, which is
Ah,
pretty rare. So
okay.
we've had a lot of interesting astrological things going on. And it's a cosmic alignment ushering in powerful new beginnings, expansion, abundance, love, and the promise of transformation through peace. And I thought that all of those things were things that every one of us, it doesn't matter what our politics are, those are all things that we all want. And
Mm-hmm.
so, one of the things that becomes very important in this time of year, with this whole opportunity for new beginnings, is for us to actually look and think about what it is we want to see happen in our lives. I know I was thinking, what do I want to see happen in our lives? And so one of the things, of course, is with the shop. I want to see more people coming in and seeing our healing rooms full. Last week we had a day where we had four of us in doing healing work. And it just felt so good to have that sort of buzz of people being successful and people's needs being met. And also during the holiday season, we were having a nice sales month. Although we did have ice storms that kept getting in the way. So,
Aw.
but that I thought was really quite fascinating. And we also talked about that the black moon is in Capricorn, inviting you to step boldly into a space of creation and possibility.
Oh.
Capricorn's wisdom reminds you that with grounded steps and steady resolve, your dreams can become a reality. And
Hmm.
so the visioning right now is going to be really important. So many of us forget to define what our dream is. And I know that I've found that at times I just
Hmm.
get caught up in saying yes, yes, yes. I know what I want, but the details of it, not so much. And so that's this is the perfect time for us to be really looking at every part of our life and what it is that we want to do with our life in the coming year because we've got all this new energy and it's
Mm-hmm.
like everything is just right here for the taking. And so we have to actually sit down and before we dive in, and they're showing me ice cream.
Ah,
Before we go just putting her
and
hand in.
indulgent. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right. We need to actually look at what are the different flavors? What are the different kinds of ways in which we
Uh-huh.
can can do, can create this dream or realize this dream that we have. So that is what's going to be really important. So one of the stones that's good for that is fluorite, and
Oh,
fluorite is good for that. And I don't have a piece with me. Well,
okay.
but it's a multicolored stone, and it's on the transparent side. A lot of it comes out of China, and it is extraordinary for helping you be clear, helping you
Okay.
be organized. And the clarity is one of the important things because, again, taking the time to sort it out and actually look at it. And I've always been an impromptu kind of person.
Okay.
And even though I could be very organized if I had to write a grant for someone,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise I might not be as organized. It would make good sense. But the clarity. So taking time to reflect, this is a good time for meditation. And everyone says, I'm going to do it. And meditation can just be sitting and, like we sit and watch the birds in the morning. And that's a kind of meditation
Yeah.
to work with it. And so that would be important when people oftentimes, I find one of the hardest things to answer is, what do you want? And we oftentimes think we know what we want, but then what happens sometimes is we get what we said we wanted, and we're going, hmm, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe I wanted something else. And so I've been thinking, because we're having a planning meeting for the shop coming up, I've been thinking that doing a vision board might be
Mm-hmm.
a really, so this is a really good time of the year to start creating a vision board for how you want to see your life unfold, or what are the things in your life that you want to see.
Mm.
So now little kids can tell us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much new, and you mentioned like this new energy and all, but isn't it true? I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but you'll be able to word it for me. I don't know how to say this, but isn't during this time of like the new year, like the renewal, there's also a lot of which usually we can just call bad that happens, right?
Hmm.
But it's kind of like
Hmm.
a purging of the system, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's wildfires, or whether it's something like destructive like that that does cause things to become constructive. Is
Hmm.
that normally what happens every year with these new moons?
I wouldn't link it necessarily to the new moon, but I
Okay.
would say that because you're closing out a year, you're closing out a particular time psychologically,
Mm-hmm.
the entire culture, and you
Got it.
have every culture
Got it. It's just,
using
mm-hmm.
this time to shed
That's
things
the
that
word.
no longer serves us.
Got it.
And so and that's important, because otherwise it's just like clearing your
Yeah.
garden bed in the spring and being able to get rid of
Allow new
all of the
growth.
dead,
Mm-hmm.
and then allow for new growth and rebirth.
Okay.
And it becomes so, but yes, and I would say that one of the things that was so tragic tragic at the end of the year, and then with New Year's, as we began having these two very bizarre acts of terrorism. And so we have,
Yeah.
yeah, and so that was, and you're like, this doesn't make any sense at all. And but so it becomes one of those interesting things where all of us who are here on the ground, we have to open our hearts to the people who are affected, because all of us are traumatized by something like that on the cultural level. But we also spiritually, it becomes very important for us to open our hearts and help those people and ourselves to heal from the tragedy. But we also have to find it in our hearts to be able to forgive. Because when people do things like that, we have no idea why they do it, what motivates them, or where it all started. But it is important, I think, throughout our entire lives for us to start to figure out how to forgive those who have hurt us. And this is a really great
Yeah.
time to do that. And so the new year is a really good time to bring in the whole um, consciousness of forgiveness. And we have to forgive ourselves. One of the things that is really important at this time, and as we're looking at setting our own intentions, is we had people talk about self-love all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that they don't necessarily put with that is self-acceptance.
Okay.
Because one of the things that we find, and particularly women, it's we don't like the way we look. No. And so
Mm-hmm.
everybody on the planet, for the most part, if they have any extra pounds, one of my intentions is to lose weight or to gain weight, whatever. But it becomes really important for us to be able to look at ourselves every day in the
Mm-hmm.
mirror. And as Louise Hay said, I love you. And to say to yourself that we love ourselves, but we also accept ourselves as we are. It's like, do we really have to change?
Mm-hmm.
Because change has become such a God term for us. And so that's going to be part of what's important in the coming days. And as we define what this year is going to be. So
Well, I think I need to start with my vision board, but okay. Okay. Now, you mentioned this is on Christmas Eve, the new moon. When's the second one?
it's already happened. It was at the beginning of the month.
So, okay, so yesterday then, all right? Well,
Yeah,
yesterday
yeah,
was the first. And what
right.
does that mean for us? I really don't understand, the I'm a Capricorn. My birthday's coming up this month. My son's this weekend. But I
How
don't understand.
exciting.
Yeah, I don't understand honestly, like the signs in Capricorn and the new moon, right? So, like,
Mhm.
how would you describe? I mean, because every year is it the same for Capricorns? Every year is the new moons change. Like, give me if I can have some more insight and break that down for me, I'd appreciate it.
The new moons do change.
Okay.
Okay, and so what we're really now we're moving toward the full moon. The new moon is always a time of setting intentions, and every month we have a new moon. It's like every month we have a full moon, and with the moon, we spend time releasing what no
Yep.
longer serves us.
Okay.
And so, in terms of Capricorn, let me go back to this offering. My father was Capricorn
Oh,
and very smart and very driven
yeah.
to do things. So,
What's our downfall?
I'm not going there.
Ah! With every good, there's bad. Every sign, we have our positive, but we have our weaknesses. So I'm not going
I
there.
haven't studied astrology enough to be able to answer that. But you're extraordinarily creative. So this one asks you to step into a space of creation and possibility.
Okay.
So it's really looking, so it's time to let go of the limits because we oftentimes place limits around ourselves psychically and emotionally and in physical ways as well. And so it becomes important that we just, when the spacecraft uh, lets lifts off at Cape Canaveral and it lifts off and everything falls away. So this is a time to allow everything to fall away so that you can all of a sudden see once the smoke clears,
Mm-hmm.
what's possible for you to do and possible for your son. So which son is a Capricorn?
My older son, so he's 9. He'll be 10 on Sunday, the 5th. Yeah.
That was my father's birthday.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
Well,
interesting?
I can tell you one thing about my son. I don't know if it's going to correlate to your dad, but he's only 9, turning 10. Very smart, very quiet, but very stubborn.
Uh-huh.
very, very stubborn, very defiant. So I don't know if that's one of my characteristics then too. I'm 5 days later on the 10th. I don't think I'm as stubborn though, but
Of
yeah.
course you're not.
Of course I don't think that, right?
Of course. So, but yeah, so this is all a time of really taking stock of what we did in 2024. A lot of people just want to get past 2024 because they say it was a
Yeah.
painful year and there was so much that was going on. But, and that's actually one of the things that's so beautiful is all of a sudden we can start all over again. And that's one of the things that could be one reason why we're such fanatical sports fans is because with every game, we get to start again. Whether
Ah.
you win or lose, you get to start again once you start, once they throw the ball up or whatever. We're in basketball season, so although we still have football and lots of bowl games.
Oh
So,
my goodness. Well, thank you for
yeah.
sharing that. We still have more time together. Let's just remind everyone how we can contact you, Gina, please. Thank you.
Yeah, so we are www.prismscape, PrismsScape.com. And you can send us an email at info@prismscape.com, PrismsScape.com. And you can give us a call, a phone call at 319-351-2907. And we will also be putting up our cell phone number. And so you can send us text. But,
Beautiful. Thank you
but
so much. What else about the new year do you think is important for us to know, get accustomed to? It's only day number two into the new year. What are some of the things we should be working on for ourselves? You mentioned the vision board, right? Is
Mhm.
there anything else that we should start doing? What about listening to our intuition sometimes? I just think we don't.
I think listening to our intuition is probably one of the most important things we can do
Hmm.
because we second guess ourselves or we
Oh
say,
yeah.
oh no, somebody else told me this. Well, the answer is we are the best. One of the things I do is I work with a pendulum.
Ah.
And have you ever worked with a pendulum?
One time when I did a Reiki session, I didn't first like someone did it through the thing and it's supposed to swing in a certain way and it was swinging
Right.
too much and I had some congestion in the stomach area, something.
Hmm.
Ooh,
Yeah, so you're working with the pendulum is so we have in the spiritual world, we talk about having uh, a connection to our high self,
okay.
to our, I call it our God self. And so the pendulum is one way of connecting with it. In fact, when I work with my pendulum, I always ask it to show me a yes. First, I say, show me that I'm in touch with my
Mm-hmm.
high self, I'm connected. And then I say, give me a yes, give me a no. And then I'm just wondering if I have one in here. I have a real large one, but it's not intended to be a pendulum.
Okay.
It's actually a healing tool. But so you say, get in touch with high self.
Okay.
Stop.
Hmm.
Give me a yes.
Yes.
Stop. Give me a no.
No.
And you can train it to work with it. You can train
Oh,
and so you work with the pendulum itself to get it
wow.
used to working with it.
With
But then when I um, have a question of what I want to do or what product is best for me to use, and what or crystals. Should I buy this set of crystals or this set of crystals? And so it's a good way of finding out. So there was a wonderful book written by a man named David Hawkins
hmm.
called Power versus Force.
Okay.
And he uses a thing called kinesiology,
Kinesiology. I always have a hard time saying
right?
that word. Yes.
Yeah, all of us do. Rich, our healer, who uses the technique all the time. It's the yes, no, and doing your different ways of testing. But that's the same principle because The answer is our high self always knows the truth and
Yeah.
can tell us what's going to be best for us. In fact, it was interesting. Hawkins even said in that book, he said, there's no reason to spend so much money on political campaigns if you just ask yourself who was the best candidate or who's telling the truth, and then just accept the answer because but that's way too simple
Of
to
course.
rely on our intuition and to accept that it is that we ultimately know best for ourselves.
Wow.
And it's but it's a good device. I've got a friend, every time she goes to the restaurant and she's looking at the menu and she says this, and lets the pendulum tell her what thing's going to be best for her that day, because she has a lot of digestive issues. And
Yeah.
so she's gotten into this habit. Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Let's remind everyone how we can reach out
Mhm.
to you, and great conversation. Good having you guys back.
Oh, I did want to tell you one other thing. The reason why last week I said George was my favorite gift. So George had, we'd been to a reception for a wedding uh, for some friends, and it was right around this time. And so we're stopped at a stoplight on a very busy street. And he says, "So what do you think about us having one of those?"
What did you say?
I said, huh. Now here we are on this very busy street. There's no place to pull over for me to say anything. And I said, "So
Uh-huh.
why don't we just wait until we get home?" And so when we got home, he was so sweet. He took his jacket off, got down on his knee, and proposed to me.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so that was amazing, but that's why I say he's one of my greatest gifts or my favorite, because
Beautiful.
this time of year is a very important time for our relationship. So in terms of getting in touch with us, www.prismscape.com, PrismsScape.com, and you can send us an email at info@prismscape.com. Okay.
Well, I want to say Happy New Year, everyone out there who is tuning in today, and wishing you the health,
Oh, she shut it
prosperity,
off.
and oh, goodbye, bye, guys. Don't worry, it's okay. I'll see you
Bye.
next week, okay? Thank
Okay.
you. And
Bye-bye.
thank you, George, for being the best gift.
Okay. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.